What's up, degenerates? Mad Merrigan here for Cold Bear Sports. I am now joined by two characters, two very knowledgeable men, one from out west, the bookie basher himself, responsible for closing many doors in the last couple of decades. Mickey D, how's things?
How we've had it, good evening. All well here now, looking forward to a good week of flat racing. It's the Cheltenham of the flat racing, so great to pick a few winners and make a few pounds. Nothing better than taking a few pounds out of the bookies' satchels. That's
for sure. Well, if my next guest knows a thing or two about pricing, he could be hired by the supermarkets. 𝗕𝗏𝗏 himself. How's things, Joe?
Great fun, Paddy. Not a bother. Going well now.
Right, let's move on. So to day one of the Royal Ascot meeting, and we kick it off with the Queen Anne. I suppose, Mickey D, what are you thinking? Have you any selection here? We have a very short priced favourite in 𝗵𝗵𝗆. Is he a good thing, or have you something at a little bit of value to take him on?
Yeah, it was won last year by Circus Maximus, Maiden O'Brien's yard, and only 5 favourites in the last 10 years have won it. And at that time as well, a 14-to-1 shot, a 33-to-1 shot, and a 15-to-2 shot has won it. So just because you have a 1-to-2 shot, that doesn't say he's home and holds. Also, another stat that's interesting is 7 out of the last 10 lock-hinged winners, which 𝗵𝗵𝗆 won this year, have lost here. So the best angle I thought into it was look for something without the favourite and each way as well. And I came down on Regular Reality from Michael Stout. That's rated about 117, 118, but it was rated 120 a couple of years ago when it was third in the Curl Eclipse at Sandown to 𝗵𝗶𝗆, and Magical was second. And that was the last time I think that he got his proper good firm ground. He was unlucky to find soft and heavy in the meantime in runs. So he's 50-to-2 without the favourite, and he's about an 18-to-20-to-1 shot. And as a lively outsider, his Accidental Agent, 66-to-1. It won this race 3 years ago as a 4-year-old. And it's the second run back as well after having wind surgery, which I like as well, that angle, the second run back. If there was a breathing issue, they seem to take the one run to make sure that they recover and that they know that they're all right again and that they can put in good effort. So a lively outsider, but I don't know, there's only 11 running in the race now, so you may not be able to get in every place, 4 places, but if you are Accidental Agent, it could be a good thing, and maybe finish 3rd or 4th. So Regular Reality without the favourite, and each way for me is my choice.
Nice. What about 𝗕𝗏𝗏? Joe, have you a different angle, or are you in agreement with Mick? Maybe the favourite isn't as strong as the betting has it.
No, I think the favourite's a steering job, to be honest with you, but he's not much good to anyone at 2-to-5. If I was having a bet, I'd back 𝗵𝗆𝗆 without the favourite. He loves that straight course at Ascot. I think that's very important. And he has a bit to find on the ratings, but just if the 2 O'Brien horses, Order of Australia and Luke Fernandez, if they go and try and beat 𝗵𝗵𝗆, they could burn themselves out, and it could suit a late closer like 𝗵𝗆𝗆. He's 25-to-1, 33-to-1 to win the race. I'm not backing to win the race. I'm going to have a small few quid in him at 10-to-1, 12-to-1 without the favourite, and hope he falls into 2nd or 3rd or whatever.
Yeah, definitely a rock solid horse. Will need to step up, but always seems to step up at Ascot, and definitely really interesting. Oisin Murphy on your side as well. Right, I thought interesting that Aidan O'Brien runs Order of Australia here. Ryan Moore in the saddle. This race just has no pace whatsoever, and I just think it's interesting that this is the chosen horse, and I think it's possible he can get that freebie. I don't think this time it's going to suit the closers. I know Ascot generally does, but I just think in this race, I think it's going to be steady fractions and maybe an O'Brien horse getting a freebie. That's what it looks down through it. I can't see 𝗵𝗵𝗆 Fernandez making the run, and the other O'Brien horse, he wouldn't get home. Top rank, Regular Reality, Lord Glitter, 𝗵𝗆𝗆𝗆, bless him, all take their time. Accidental Agent, maybe Pogo might be ridden a bit handier at a massive price. But I do think 𝗵𝗆𝗆 definitely the horse to beat. But an interesting selection. Order of Australia has form over further. Definitely won a small few quid each way at 6-1. So we will move on swiftly from race 1, lads. We'll pick it up in race 2. We have the Coventry Stakes, always a bit of a conundrum, always improving early, still early in the year. What are you thinking? Joe Value, anything here that tickles your fancy? There's been a couple of impressive winners, as of most of them, to be fair. Where is your dart lying here?
No, I'm not throwing any darts at Paddy. It's a race that the more I look at it, the more confused I get. So I don't have an opinion on it, to be honest with you. And I'm just going to leave it off and try to learn something, to be honest.
Right. Mickey D, the floor is yours. The bookie basher surely has something lurking for us here.
It was won last year by 150 to 1 shot, Nando Parado by for Clive Cox. So an outsider can win it, like, as well as a favourite. There's only 4 favourites in the last 10 years. Aidan O'Brien has won it 4 times in the last 10 years. The favourite is an American horse, Coffee Maker for Wesley Ward, but it's won first time out in Keeneland. It's only a 4 furlong race, and there was a few horses in behind that hasn't enhanced the form since then. So I sided with 𝗵𝗵𝗏 for John and Teddy Gosden. It was very eye-catching in Leicester first time out. It's won in a time of 1:11, which is pretty good. It was nearly a second faster than the average times for the going that day. And I'm a big fan of Gosden. I was back him a lot when he was on the west coast of America years ago, and I think he's the best trainer in the game. And I'm siding with him. 11 to 1 or 12 to 1 last night.
Yeah, he's actually tightened up as short as 7 to 1, so a lot of money and a lot of support. No doubt about it. Very taken debut, was 3 or 4 lengths down at 3 furlongs out, and all of a sudden he was 4 or 5 lengths clear, so really impressive. But for me in this race, I like the look of the Donegal O'Brien trained 𝗵𝗏𝗏. 𝗵𝗏𝗏, for me, the last day, came up against a very, very good horse in Castle Star, who was trained by the Stacks in the Curragh. And I thought Castle Star had a couple of extra runs than him and had been pretty impressive lately. So I like Masato's run. I think he did a lot wrong. I think he hit the line strong in both these races. He's actually drifting out to 7 to 1 now, and I think he's great value. I just think for a horse that will see out the trip well, we haven't seen the best of. For me, Masato is the horse to beat for Donegal O'Brien. And yeah, Gavin Ryan in the saddle. So we will leave that there, lads, and then we will move on to the Flying 5, the King Stand. We have the brilliant 𝗵𝗏𝗏 at the top of the betting. Mickey D, is he a good thing? Is he the lay? Where does your cards lie here? Are you with or against the brilliant 𝗵𝗏𝗏?
He won it last year as he went off at 5 to 6 favourite. And the ground was on the slow side of good. But he's the only favourite in the last 10 years to win it. So that would make him the lay of the week. There's only 4 fillies that has won it in the last 19 years. And there's only 6 3-year-olds in the last 31 years. So that turned me against 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who bolted up the last time in a listed race in a smashing time of 58 seconds. It's rated 109, but it gets £10 off 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏. But because of the stats, and I'm a stats man, I'm leaning now towards Maven for Leslie Ward. It's a 4-year-old. It's 16 to 1, and I think he'll be stalking the pace and maybe come late. And I'm against 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏 strictly because he was injured at the start of the year, and I don't like to be throwing the cash away on horses' form from last year. I'd rather give him the run this year and win again on double mid stake when I see him next time out.
Lovely. What about you? Go on ahead and finish off.
I'm with Maven each way, but I'd give a strong, if you go against those stats, that could be a special one. Winter Power. Easterby has said it's one of the best he's trained in a good while. So it's between those two for me, but the better odds I'd go for in each way selection on Maven at 16 to 1.
Nice. So a nice bit of a prices there. So not that positive for 𝗵𝗏𝗏𝗏. Yes, he can be quirky as well, and seems sometimes taking a short price on a horse that can put himself in a little bit of bother before the race as well. So, Joe Value, where does the value lie? Is it with or without 𝗵𝗏?
Well, one of the main advantages punters have against bookmakers is that the bookmakers have to price up every race, but the punter doesn't have to have a bet in every race. And this is a no-bet race for me. 𝗵𝗏, look, he's a wonderful horse. There's no doubt he's a superstar. For the love of racing, I'd like to see him go out there and put on a performance. But am I backing him at 7-4, 2-1? Absolutely not. With the doubts that he's had, and it's a quality race. I look on and enjoy it. But as far as the selection goes, I don't have one, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I think it's a brilliant race. We have obviously the 𝗵𝗶𝗆 was, did she scorch the turf in York the last day. For me, I'm going to take a chance on King's Lynn that he can step up again. Although he just scraped home in Haydock, I thought it was pretty dominant throughout the race. He travelled well. There's definitely going to be loads of pace in this race. You have the 𝗔𝗀𝗰𝗵 filly, who was very good the last day. Liberty Beach. Oxted likes to go forward. Personally, I think Oxted he wants to set up blinkers or something. He just wasn't in it the last day. Obviously, 𝗵𝗏, he can jump and sit anywhere, really. Seems to be brilliant. 𝗫𝗵𝗆 really scorches up the turf. I think King's Lynn can definitely finish off this race nicely. Will he be good enough to step up and win it? Time will tell. I'm willing to be with him at 20-1. So, right, let's move on from the sprint and move on to the St. James's Palace. Right, Poetic Flare, the Guineas winner, then travelled to France. It didn't work out, came back to Ireland, just denied by the shortest of margins by the Jim Boulder trained Max Sweeney. Top of the market again, a little bit of a funny race, lads. He's around the 7-2 mark. Are you with, or are you thinking there's something lurking that has maybe better potential or better form? I suppose Joe Value.
Grand, yeah. I'm not totally convinced about the Guineas form this year. You know, they're all beating each other there. So I'm going to go for Highland Avenue here. I think he's a young, improving horse by 𝗵𝗏𝗏. He's strong over a mile. I think the triple suit him perfectly. The track will suit him perfectly. He's drawn a bit wide now, and the first turn does come up quick. But there's a Mark Johnson horse drawn 2 stalls in from him, which is guaranteed to go forward, and he might get a nice trail through around the first couple of bends. He'll be staying on very strong, and he got beat last time all right by the horse of Jim Crowley's 𝗵𝗏𝗏. But Highland Avenue was on the wrong side of the track that day. It was a big disadvantage to be on the rail in Sandown. He couldn't get off the rail. I just think level playing field tomorrow, Highland Avenue, he's around 7-8-1. I think is as good a chance as any, to be honest.
Yeah, William Buick in the plane. Mickey D, the bookie basher from out west. Where do your cards lie in the St. James's Palace?
This race was won last year by Palace Piers, 4-1 when he won. 5 favourites in the last 10 years. Poetic Flare, this is his 5th race in 6 or 7 weeks. And you nearly want the constitution of an ox like to keep going at that race of going. I'm against him on that basis. So I'm going to take a chance on the Richard Hannon trained Chindit. It was 5th in the Guineas, but it sustained on well towards the end. And it won over 7 furlongs in Ascot last year as well. And I like the 3-year-old forum to have won over the course as a 2-year-old to give me a bit of encouragement to back them then this year. So I'm on Chindit each way. It's about a 9 or 10-1 shot. I think it's a value bet.
Yeah, and Richard Hannon having a good year, and Pat Dobbs in the saddle. I will just mention before I go into my selection, there is a late move here on Battleground, or I say a late move the day before, but definitely there was no signs of any money until recently. Battleground now going into 11-2, so that is interesting. Brian Moore for Aidan O'Brien was pretty good last year, very disappointing on his return, but definitely interesting. But for me, I'm going to go with Dusty Foley here, Lucky Vega. I had Lucky Vega down as a doubtful stayer at a mile. I thought he was a classy horse, but I thought he might be vulnerable at the mile. Now I'm not so sure. I thought in the Guineas, in the English Guineas, I thought he hit the line strong. And then I watched the Irish Guineas on heavy ground, which is a stiff mile. And I thought he finished off nice enough that day. Yes, 𝗕𝗏𝗏 took his time because I'm sure he was worried about the stiff mile and the heavy ground. And he finished off, the race kind of happened without him and he ran home strong. And I think tomorrow this horse at 7-1 is a cracking bet, especially each way. I just think he's a classy enough horse and he won't, if he does win, it will be by the finest of margins. 𝗕𝗏𝗏 will have to get it perfect. But I think this horse will be bang there tomorrow. So we'll move on from that. Definitely an interesting race and one I look forward to seeing. Let's move on now to the Ascot Stakes, lads, in the 5 o'clock. Mickey D, where does it lie? You had a fancy in this at a big price. Hit us with it.
Yeah, I actually had the winner of this last year, 𝗕𝗆 at 16-1. There's only 3 favourites in the last 10 years. So the Irish have won it 6 times in the last 10 years, and Willie Mullins have won 4 of those. Now, Rymore is up on 𝗵𝗶𝗆 𝗨. It's rated 96 on the flat, but I'm a bit disappointed with his form over hurdles because he's only rated 128, and I would have preferred if he was progressive enough to be, was in the mid-140s, relevant to his rating on the flat. So I'm all over Postilio for Roger Varian and Andrea Zini in the saddle. I think the ground didn't suit him the last time in Chester, and he didn't like running around the saucer either. And it was good to soft that day. He's rated 94. I think the best is yet to come. He's 14-1, 16-1 in places. I think he's rock solid each way selection with the ground in his favour.
Yeah, he's actually as big as 18-1 now. So shop around, lads, and make sure and get you know, all the value and all the extra places. Right, let's take it to Joe Value, where I think he's siding with a woman chasing history once again this year. Rachel Blackmore in the plate. Joe, take it away.
Yeah, Cape Gentleman, the top weight. Rachel takes the ride. He's a classy horse. I saw this horse win the Irish 𝗲𝗏𝗏. He was very free early on, and he was very free during much of the race, and I was thinking turning in. I said, "There's no way this that'll get home over 2 mile." And so he could have went the far side of the Newbridge if he wanted. Ronan Whelan had loads of horse under him, and I think he hasn't run on the flat since. And I think they've been waiting for something like this. They went over hurdles. Now he's done well over hurdles. He's won 2 races out of 4, so he's paid his way that way. But I think this horse has more than a touch of class, and you see the likes of 𝗵𝗆 Muldoon, he's 3-1 favourite of that. As Mick was saying, his hurdle form is nothing special. The second favourite, Ray Poor, he got beaten Kilbeggan the other day. Like, Jesus Christ, like. And the Golden Rules of Gosden's got beaten Wolverhampton. Like, I just think there's different levels in this game, and I think Cape Gentleman could end up to be a different class horse altogether. I'm all over him at 8-1, 9-1. I think the fact that Rachel, she was only booked for the ride there this morning. The horse had no jockey up last night, but they got Rachel. I think that they could plough into this one. She could end up a strong second favourite, if not favourite.
Yeah, it's quite possible with Rachel Blackmore in the saddle. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this heads off favourite. It's shortened up a few points since she's been booked for the ride. But I'm going to say I think the value here, Joe, lands in the middle of it. I think Triumphant Man, he's around 12-1, was as big as 14-1. This is a horse from Mark Johnson. We definitely haven't seen the best of him yet, and I like him each way. I also Mickey D selection, Pistoletto. He's a horse I'd napped up before. He's been very lucky for me in Salisbury when he won. Then he was kind of mugged in Chester one day. Franny Norton just pretty much mugged the whole field that day. He took any horse's chance away. So when he finished second that day, he kind of had no chance with the pace. It went so steady and just a genius ride on the Rudy from Franny Norton, but he can definitely step up at a big price. So I'll take Pistoletto and Triumphant Man against the field. Shop around, lads. Look for the value, all the prices and the best places. Don't let them greedy bookies mug you the way Franny Norton mugged Pistoletto in Chester. Right, speaking of value, we will move on now till the Wolverton. And we'll take it away at Mr. 𝗃𝗏𝗏𝗄. What are you thinking? It is an open enough race. We have Patrick Starfield's at the top of the market. Forest of Dean and Solid Stone. Good winner as well last time out. Anything there, Joe? What is the value? That's all we want to know.
Yeah, Forest of Dean here. He's around 7 or 8 to 1 chance. Frankie Dettori could get his meeting off to a good, you know, his first winner of the meeting, hopefully. Anyway, this horse is a lethal turn of foot. Now, he is a bit quirky. He can hang a little bit from time to time, but he wants fast ground. He's going to get fast ground. He's the perfect drawn one. He can stalk the pace. Solid Stone is going to go forward. There's a few more. Could be plenty of pace on. This lad, he just stalked the pace, turn into the straight. He should be still going well. Frankie will say, away we go, and hopefully he'll quicken up and win well.
Really nice. And yourself, the bookie basher, how's things out west? Are you in agreement or are you against?
I think Joe has a camera up here looking at my notes because I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement.
He has a pair of binoculars and
have a camera in your bedroom if that's any good to you.
And a password to the access to Google Maps. He's watching you.
I'm getting worried about G2 books now, I'm telling you. It was won last year by Forest Day or Mountain Angel at 8 to 1, and only 2 favourites in the last 10 years. Patrick Sarsfield is a favourite for the Joseph O'Brien yard, but Joseph O'Brien has had winners in Kilbeggan, Ballinrobe, in Flemington, Australia, everywhere, but he has no winner in Ascot yet. And I don't think this will be his first either. So Yukon Glen is the top race at 1:15, but I think he needs soft ground. So I'm all over Forest of Dean as well. He's the top of the ground horse. His 4 runs this year were all on the all-weather. It's a dirt to turf angle that I like, that I followed years ago. And with Frankie and Gosden, the combination, I think Forest of Dean is a smashing each way selection.
Yeah, and he's got the draw in stall 1 as well, which, look, can be good, can be bad, but Frankie Dettori in the blue colours, in the royal blue as well. So definitely one he is very familiar with at Ascot. But I'm going to just give a horse a chance here that ties in with a bit of form with Forest of Dean and is now a few pounds better off. So Felix wasn't beaten that far by Forest of Dean, and he had a nice run the last day. I think, yes, back on the turf in the UK at Royal Ascot, 𝗵𝗶𝗿 will have this horse primed. He's as big as 8, well, around the 7 to 1 mark now. Oisin Murphy in the saddle. I'll give him an each way bet against the field. Small stake stuff. I think I can make a case for a lot of them in this race, but I won't waste your time. Small bet each way on Felix. So from there, lads, we will now move on to what most people, definitely in Ireland, and as I look at my screen, it is shortening up as we speak. Sal Deere, the Willie Mullins trained. Mickey D, I got one question for you. Is it a good thing or is it a good thing?
Boom. One word, boom. This is the second running of this race. It was won last year by a 3 to 1 favourite. Saldier, he's rated 99. He's rated 156 over hurdles. He's the guts of 20 pound well in. He won in Listowel in a hack canter and 14 stone myself, and if I was on his back that day, I could have steered him home, no problem, carrying 2 stone overweight or 2.5. So I think this is the best of the day. The wedge is on from last night at 3 to 1. So Saldier, lump on, I say.
Joe Value, is he the value tomorrow? You are the man that does the pricing. What's the story?
If he doesn't win, there'll be a lot of sour faces around the 6:15 tomorrow evening. Look, he's probably a different league. You know what I mean? Even in his hurdles form, he was going to knock the bollocks out of 𝗵𝗿 one day around Naas, and he came down at the last. He hasn't been the same horse since until this season, and he seems to be nearly back to his best. He's a different league. I hope he wins and wins impressively. You know, I think he will. It's hard to oppose anyway.
For me, watching him the other day in Listowel, it was a monster. It was a monstrous performance. And you know what? They always held him in very, very high regard through one thing or another. He didn't get to show it. But for me, he could even be better on the flat, lads, especially over these kind of trips around Ascot. This horse was so dominant the other day. It was monstrous. And if he shows up in the same form. It will very, very hard to beat. Let's just touch on a couple of others just for in Global Storm, Charlie Appleby's, Tyrone Hall on to victory. Sleeping Lion, definitely an interesting horse. They can step up, but they're going to have to step up a lot to trouble this Saldier. So, lads, we won't waste the degenerates' time here. We'll tell them that is, for me, definitely, I think still at 5-2, probably, you know, a strong bet of the day.
He could end up 7-4 shots, you know.
He could, you're right. Mickey D, would you turn in again at 5-2? We still value, I think we all are in agreement that this is the one tomorrow that will win.
Yeah, that's the nap of the day. It's a pity it's just the first race, but it's the last race.
To put you in a good mood.
We'll have lots of clover for the next day anyway. That's the only thing. There's one horse there in each race shot I thought was 𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗶𝗆, maybe at 16 or 18 to 1. He crept in at the bottom of the handicap. That's the only one that in each race selection people didn't want to plough into Saldier, but I think Saldier, to me, is the bet of the day anyway. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's the Copper Horse Stakes handicap. So, lads, we will leave it there with Royal Ascot. Well, I'm going to give you Joe Value and Mickey D. Have you any selection for the degenerates tomorrow that might be away from the hurly-burly hustle and bustle of Royal Ascot? Because as we know, even the best of men were wiped out in Royal Ascot. So let's hope we can find a winner elsewhere. Joe Value, take it away. Give me a winner tomorrow for the degenerates.
There's a horse I fancy strongly running at Stratford. It's called Alexander the Grey. Runs at 1/2-3. It'll be a double figure price, but don't let that put you off. His form figures are terrible lately. Don't let that put you off either. He ran much better than he ran a hell of a race last time, much better than the figures would suggest. He's down in grade tomorrow. He's going to get his own way up front. He'll be 10 or 12 to 1. By the time I get a hold of him, he'll be 5 or 6 to 1 chance. I fancy him strong, and he's the one for me for tomorrow for the jump race.
Lovely. What about the bookie basher? Any bookies out west going to be bashed tomorrow? Give us one, Mickey, for the degenerates.
Well, one in Sligo tomorrow night, but I hope that we are tomorrow is we're pretty smart. That's for Pat Murphy tomorrow night in Sligo. So
hopefully, right. As we wrap it up, my nap of the day tomorrow, folks, my 3-point win, 𝗕𝚅 at the 6:05 at Beverly. Yes, there's no prices in yet for any of our selections. This horse has a bad draw tomorrow. I'm not worried about it at all. If she gets any half-decent position, she will be collecting for us. So 𝗕𝚅, and then I will just give a shout out to Crane. He disappointed the last time, but keep an eye on him tomorrow in the 7:10 at Beverly. 1-point win on Crane and 3-point win on 𝗕𝚅, my nap of the day. Right, lads, I hope you enjoyed our preview of day 1 of Royal Ascot. Make sure and come back. Join us tomorrow evening as we review day 1 and preview day 2. The time for cotton is over. Thanks, lads. Mickey D, a legend, and Joe Value. If the price is right, we'll be on. Good luck, lads.
Bye.